Call the meeting to order, and to begin, call your attention to the Open Meetings Act posted here in the City Council chambers. If you now please join me in rising for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Granquist.
Yay.
Langy.
Here.
Merrill.
Here.
Weeblehouse.
Here.
Murin. Jackson. Clausen.
Here.
File.
Here.
Okay, with that, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. If no discussion, roll call, please.
Granquist.
Yay.
Langy.
Yes.
Merrill.
Yes.
Murin. Weeblehouse.
Yeah.
Missed somebody. Jackson. Who did I miss? Or not? Okay. Clausen.
Yay.
File.
Here.
All council members. Weeblehouse.
But I said
Okay.
yay.
Thank you. All council members voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Okay, with that, I would look for a motion to approve the full agenda.
So moved.
Motion second. If no discussion, roll call.
Granquist.
Yay.
Langy.
Yes.
Merrill.
Yay.
Weeblehouse.
Yay.
Murin. Jackson. Clausen.
Yay.
File.
Yeah.
All council members voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to the public hearings and related action portion of our agenda, item number 22. I will open this public hearing to receive a report on findings and suggestions from the Economic Development Citizen Advisory Review Committee as required by state statute section 18-2715. And to begin the discussion, Randy Gates, our city finance officer.
Yes, Your Honor. Citizens serving on the CARC are Cindy Morrow, Brandon Day, Darren Otten, Jan Einspar, and Kathy Means. I serve as an ex officio non-voting member of the CARC. And by state law, the CARC has to meet at least once in every 6-month period and report to the City Council on its findings and suggestions at a public hearing called for that purpose. And that's what this hearing is for. CARC met on June 3rd, and the CARC's report, which includes the CARC review checklist, is included in the agenda packet. At the June 3rd meeting, the CARC reviewed the Economic Development Fund financial statements from November 2019 to April 2020. Revenues and expenditures were consistent with the budget. The only expenditure during the period was a regularly scheduled debt service interest payment. As of April 30, the Economic Development Fund had about $654,000 of cash, most of which will be spent on debt service. The CARC received an update on the Rural Business Development Grant Revolving Loan Fund Program. The city was awarded a $75,000 grant from USDA for the Revolving Loan Fund Program. The Economic Development Fund is the matching source for this grant for a total program amount of $150,000. Program is designed for small businesses to provide gap financing to supplement their primary financing. The city is partnering with the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District to administer this program. At the meeting, the staff also provided the CARC and Economic Development update, including discussion of the Greater Norfolk Economic Development Foundation Business Park, which we just discussed on the CDA agenda previously. And we also worked by the CARC an update on several other economic development projects going on. The CARC found that the city's economic development program is operating in compliance with the budget and the voter-approved economic development plan. I'd answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Any questions? This is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to make comment can do so now. Okay, hearing no one, I'll move to close the hearing and move to item number 23. Open this public hearing to consider an amendment to the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction map of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, as authorized by section 16-902 RRS 2012. And to kick off the discussion on this, Valerie Grimes, our city planner.
Thank you. A little history. When we update our zoning map, which we do about one time a year. It's been 2 years now, so we're due for a zoning update for MapWise that goes on our website. To make the map as current as possible with this snapshot, we tend to look at our ETJ line at that time too and see if we've taken in any annexations that could potentially bump out our ETJ. One came in the business park there at 37th Street and Omaha. And so what is before you tonight is the potential ETJ expansion because of that annexation to the southwest. The ETJ expansion proposes 640 new acres into our extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you, Val. Any questions? This is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to make comment can do so now. Okay, hearing no one, I will ask for a Planning Commission report, please, Brianna.
The Norfolk Planning Commission held a public hearing on June 2nd, 2020 to amend the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction map of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the amendment with a 6-0 vote.
Okay. With that, I will close the hearing and move to item number 24. Look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5667, approving an amendment to the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction map of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, as authorized by section 16-902 RRS 2012.
Your Honor, I would offer for consideration ordinance number 5667.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion on this or questions for the city planner, council? Okay. Hearing none, short title, please.
An ordinance of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska to amend the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction map of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska is authorized by NRS section 16-902 RRS 2012 to include the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter of section 5, township 23 north, range 1 west, the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the north half of the southeast quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the north half of the southwest quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the south half of the northwest quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of section 6, township 23 north, range 1 west, the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 1, township 23 north, range 2 west, the north half of the northeast quarter of section 1, township 23 north, range 2 west, the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of section 36, township 24 north, range 2 west, the east half of the southwest quarter of section 36, township 24 north, range 2 west, all of the 6th p.m. Madison County, Nebraska, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full publication, and to provide for the ordinance of this publication in pamphlet form.
Okay. Not sure I caught all that. Roll call, please.
Granquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yeah.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen, File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative. Ordinance 5667 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I'd move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5667 on second and third readings.
Second.
I was hoping someone might do that.
Want to read that again?
Motion second to suspend the rules and approve on second and third readings. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Granquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative. Ordinance 5667 carries on second and third.
Item number 25. We'll open this public hearing to consider submitting a grant application to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development in the amount of $435,000 in CDBG Community Development Block Grant funds for a tourism development grant to make improvements to Johnson Park, which will include the removal of architectural barriers. And to kick off the discussion on this and give us some background, we'll hear from Jan Merrill of the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you, Mayor. The city of Norfolk will be requesting $435,000 in CDBG funds, and it's a tourism development grant. Of those, there'll be $400,000 will be used for removal of architectural barriers at Johnson's Park. $10,000 will be used for grant administration, and $25,000 will be used for construction management. The city of Norfolk is going to provide the 25% match, which is $100,000, and there will be $31,336 of leverage funds for a total grant application cost of $566,363. This project will benefit low to moderate income persons by providing access for elderly and severely disabled adults with the construction of an ADA restroom, concrete sidewalks, and a concrete parking lot to connect all that. And this grant, it will be like phase 1 of the Johnson Park North Fork River Restoration Project. And the CCCF grant that the city has been awarded, that can be used as the match and leverage for this, which that's $1.1 million. The Department of Economic Development requested that the city submit this application before the end of their fiscal year, which is June 30th, because these are actually 2019 funds that were not awarded. And so I think it's a great opportunity for the city to start off Johnson's Park in the River Development Program.
And Jan, usually a good sign when the grant administrator contacts you and says, maybe you should apply for this grant?
It's a really good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, we appreciate the district's help through these processes. This type of grant has been used before in the community. Skate park, correct?
And I believe the construction of that, I was talking to Pat last week, and I think in the next couple of weeks, things are going to start moving over there again.
Very good. Very good. All right. Any questions for Jan while she's here? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to make comment can do so now. Okay. Hearing no one, I will close the hearing and move to item number 26 and ask for a motion to consider resolution number 2020-20 to approve and submit a grant application to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development in the amount of $435,000 in CDBG funds for a tourism development grant to make improvements to Johnson Park, which will include removal of architectural barriers.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for consideration of resolution number 2020-20.
Motion second. Any discussion on this, council, or questions about the grant application? Again, we always look to leverage partnerships on quality of life projects like this, and this is just another step in doing so. I think having a partnership with the state of Nebraska already in place on this project is really beneficial, and we hope to further explore other opportunities in the future. So with that, roll call, please.
Granquist?
Yay.
Langy?
Yes.
Merrill?
Yes.
Weeblehouse?
Yay.
Murin? Jackson? Clausen? File?
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, resolution 2020-20 is adopted.
Takes us to our regular agenda, and item number 27 would look for a motion to consider acceptance of a $1.125 million Civic and Community Center Financing Fund grant from the Department of Economic Development to go towards the Johnson Park North Fork Riverfront Restoration Project, and authorization for the mayor to sign all contracts and documents related to the grant.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Motion second. And Andy, I know we've briefly discussed this before, but could you give us some background on this grant award?
Sure, Mayor and Council. Well, as the title of the agenda item indicates, this is an acceptance, the paperwork related to accepting the grant for the Community and Civic Center Financing Fund that the city was awarded for the river restoration project for downtown. This is a pretty exciting grant that the city was awarded. And this award actually took place in April, and the application for that grant took place at the beginning of this year. So it's a team effort. City staff worked hard, and we had a good partnership with the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District as well, and the State Department of Economic Development to make sure that a good grant package was put together. And we were very successful in that. So this is crucial for construction of that project as we move forward. So the action you have before you is to accept that grant and authorize the mayor to sign all the documents necessary for this.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Any questions or discussion? Again, these things don't happen overnight. It's a lot of work on the part of staff, a lot of times in partnership with the district. So I want to commend that effort, and again, leveraging partnerships and utilizing these grant resources is a big help in moving these projects forward. Roll call, please.
Granquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yay.
Weeblehouse,
Yeah.
Murin, Jackson,
Yes.
Clausen,
Yep.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item number 28 would look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5664, annexing a tract of land generally located north of Walters East Knolls 12th Edition. As a note, ordinance number 5664 passed on first reading at the May 18th council meeting and on second reading at the June 1st council meeting.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance number 5664 on third reading.
Second.
Motion and second, and there's no discussion allowed on third reading, so I'll ask for a short title.
An ordinance of the city of Norfolk, Nebraska to annex to said city a tract of land lying wholly in the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 24, and a tract of land lying wholly in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 13, all in township 24 north, range 1 west of the 6th PM, Madison County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and to provide that this ordinance shall be published in pamphlet form.
Okay, roll call, please.
Granquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yay.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yeah.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen, File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5664 carries on third reading.
Takes us to item number 29. We'll look for a motion to consider approval of a proposed walking network plan and proposed bicycling network plan for the city of Norfolk.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Motion and second, and to kick off discussion on this, Steve Ramus, our Public Works Director.
Mayor and council members, what's before you today is an update to the current 2008 City Master Trail Plan. We had engaged with Tool Design as a function of they were a subconsultant to our Schemmer contract on the Benjamin Avenue design and reconstruction project. As part of that, Tool Design was brought to the table to look at the walking and transportation, active transportation plan for the northeast quadrant of the community. We ultimately ended up expanding that. The work was progressing well. We were ahead of budget, and so we expanded that at a very low cost, proportionally to include the entire city. And so what's before you, what turned into be an entire city update to our transportation or our active transportation plan. I'll just kind of walk you through some of the highlights on this. The committee itself, we have a Trails Committee. The committee was involved in this. There was also public input process, and I'll just touch base here as we work through the plan on that public input process. The entire report was included in the agenda pack, and so all council would have access to that, as well as the public through the published agenda packet online. We engaged the community through first a public open house in March of 2019. Tool design came with boards and presented information to the public on, pictures of existing facilities and existings of facilities that were more designed to meet bicyclists' needs as well as walkers' needs. And we engaged the community in discussion, and there was some interactive component to it. Sheets, pages 7, 8, 6, 7, and 8 kind of show the scores that were coming out of that public input process and how the public was ranking issues of safety, issues of access throughout the community. Page 9 shows the age of some of the respondents where we were receiving information via an internet site, and we had about 20% of our respondents were between the ages of 40 and 49, and in all the other age brackets, generally we were seeing respondents in about the 10% category. So ages 18 to 29 were roughly 10%, 30 to 39 were roughly 10%, and 50 to 59, 60 to 69. So really we had, from a survey perspective, we had a really good participation in the survey. About 52% were male respondents, 48% female respondents. So the report shows some of the information that was gathered there through that process. Page 12 then of the report goes into the problem areas that were identified as part of the process. And it uses some, contrary to our public safety's desire, it uses red splashes to point out where we probably have some conflict points. Again, very good communication or conversation during the public meeting, and very good input by the public in the online portion of that. Page 13 of the report shows popular destinations throughout the community. So one of the things we were trying to do is connect our trail plan and connect our walking plan to popular destinations. I won't go through those, but you can see those listed there on page 13. Again, we did a gap analysis looking at where there were potential gaps within our system, where we could focus on projects to connect existing system to better serve those people on bicycle and foot traffic. Several pages there, between the gaps for walking, gaps for bicycling on page 15. Another component was just looking at the wayfinding. Page 16 points out lacks in directional signage for those on both walking and on bicycle. I want to talk just briefly about pages 17 and 18, kind of are summarizing the key findings. Those findings in summary would be to complete the loop trail system. A lot of desire as people are getting on their bicycle and traversing through the community to have complete loops that they're accessing around the community, be that the northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, and certainly interconnection to the inner city as well. Connection to the Cowboy Trail into downtown, that showed up. And the study here the plan is recommending that we identify a couple areas where we can connect from the Cowboy Trail into the downtown Norfolk area. Enhance our bicycle and pedestrian facility design. So as we're looking at reconstruction within our street corridors, our right-of-way corridors, making sure that we're taking into consideration the needs of bicyclists and pedestrians. Work towards complete streets. Again, that is really about when we're doing design and putting into our city code and our city design standards components to help meet those needs for the bicyclists and pedestrians. Develop a wayfinding system, providing the signage so that folks on their bicycles can know how they're getting around the community. Very much like signage for streets for your vehicles. And improve bicycling and walking facilities along Benjamin Avenue. That was one of the highlighted areas as well. Through the public information or public information gathering process, the interactive process, seemed to be a lot of focus on Benjamin Avenue extending all the way out to 25th and 37th. Those are some of the just some of the highlights there. Again, I think the committee did a really good job. I was very impressed with the approach that Tool Design took. There are some members of the committee here. Dick File was our council representative on the committee. We got John Downey back here. He was the president of the committee. And I don't see, I was potentially thinking there might be a couple more, but those two could certainly talk about the process as well, and the study and the results that came out of this. I don't see this as a, historically, when we would do planning, whether it was a bicycle plan, a master transportation plan, water, sewer plan, whatever, we tended to do those plans and kind of put them on the shelf and really not adjust them very much, over 5-10 year period. These are fairly active plans now, and so we have this footprint here that really gives us some good guidance as we go forward. But I would expect that as we continue to interact with our community, interact with our bicycle committee, that there'll be tweaks to this on an annual basis, and we'll just kind of amend that as we go forward. I'm asking that council approves this plan tonight. That allows us to enforce the plan as we're working with developers, either on the residential level, commercial level, to ensure that components are being built into the planning that's taking place.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Any questions?
Steve, what is describe for me what a grade separated crossing opportunity is, please?
Grade separation would be like a pedestrian overcrossing, a pedestrian bridge, so you're separating the pedestrians or bicyclists from the street traffic.
Thank you. And I see one on Highway 81 here, is that right?
So, good question. I did want to point that out. One of the things we did was we focused really hard on crossing Highway 81 and how we could get from the east side of the community to the west side of the community. We did identify that Georgia Avenue has some characteristics that would qualify it for a grade separation. Basically, we would go take the trail under Highway 81. It's right in the area. One of the cemeteries, I think, is on the west side of town, and there's quite a bit of grade separation there, and so there'd be plenty of room to do that. The other one we had looked at was some kind of a crossing down at South 7th Street in Omaha, and however we get across to Omaha, that's going to be difficult. It's not as well defined to get over. We really didn't develop a solution there. We're just saying that somewhere down in here, 7th Street is a really nice corridor to get from Omaha to the inner city. We also want to get to the southern end of the city and get down into that Tahazuka area. So that'll be a challenge for us, but still a defined area. I'd also point out that over on the west side, there is shown on here as the trail comes down the Channel Road, Highway 35, and reconnects into 275. We are showing in some fashion, getting across the levee system there on the north side so that we can connect into the trail system.
So on North 30th and West Benjamin, are you utilizing that? Would that be an undercrossing there, utilizing where El Dorado's cart paths go through there? Would you put something different in there? What's the plan?
Probably utilizing that, upgrading that. Simple thing to do would just be to use that. It would take an agreement. I believe it's private right now, but
Well, I wondered. I mean, it's there, so
it's there.
yeah. All right. Thank you.
You'll also notice when you're looking the walking network plan really overlays over the bicycle plan, and the walking plan is really there to identify for us, help us identify as we start to look at sidewalks, where might we want to focus on calling in some sidewalks to make the community more interconnected. So that's the purpose of that walking plan.
Steve, we've taken the opportunity in recent years with street reconstruction projects to enhance walking and biking and pedestrian traffic with those corridors. Does this plan adopt some of those things that we've done, widen the sidewalks, widen the terraces, into kind of systemic design and construction plans in new streets, or does it get that detailed?
This isn't providing that detailed, so where this is talking about maybe looking at a complete street plan and looking at our how we're designing our and using our right-of-way. We are working on those. We're preparing to come back and present some information relative to our right-of-way widths, our street widths, our sidewalk widths, so that we can get those into a complete street program. We did start the complete street program. We had an initial meeting about a year ago. We have not followed up with that since then. We've really been working behind the scenes on some of the other mechanics that would go into place with that. The complete street system itself is a resolution, just saying we want to design our community right-of-ways in this fashion. And so we're working on the documents that are a little bit behind that in terms of how we're going to do that. You will see in the plan as well, sheets 23, 24, 25 go through the different styles of incorporation for bicyclists: shared use paths, separated bike lanes, bike boulevards, signed bike routes. Those are the, I think there's another one here, striped bike lanes and separated bike lanes. So those are the tools that we have in the toolbox for incorporating bicycle traffic into our right-of-ways. And they all belong in a certain place. Residential areas are more your bike boulevards, your signed bike routes. As you start to get into more of your arterial spaces, you have separated bike lanes or off-street shared use paths. The other thing the study did was we asked them to give us a couple examples. And so we looked at Norfolk Avenue, pages 28, 29, 30, provide us kind of a complete street view of what Norfolk Avenue through downtown could be. Recognizing that we don't currently allow bicycle traffic on the sidewalks. Anybody biking through downtown is forced to use the street. And so here they're providing three alternate streetscapes that would accommodate bicycle traffic, and probably without eliminating our diagonal parking, you're looking at putting it right behind the, kind of striping out a 5-foot bicycle lane directly behind the cars. Not the most desirable. People backing up aren't going to see that bicyclist, but looking at all of this geometry and the constraints you have downtown, that might be the simple solution. The other one that we asked them to look at was Riverside Boulevard, and so as you're looking at sheets 31 and 32, 33, they're providing 3 alternate streetscapes for, I think it was Walnut to Benjamin for that area.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. And we do have John Downing here, who's chairman of the Citizens Trails Committee. Would welcome any comments from you, John?
Yeah, I'd love to make a couple, especially, let me, before I forget. In the past, and when we started the committee 6 years ago, I believe, when it was enacted, and I've been involved in it since the beginning, it was kind of a pretty ethereal. There really wasn't anything. We were kind of just shooting in the dark, trying to figure out where to go from there. If you fast forward to now, this plan actually has already carried some weight in some things that are going on right at the moment. One of them that I'm extremely pleased about is out at the new bank that's going in, not Elkhorn Valley, the one on the south side of 275. When that was first designed, there wasn't a path going around the outside of that. And as a committee, we discussed it with Steve, and he apparently went back to the program managers. And if you look now, there's a sidewalk there that goes around there, and it's laid out so that it goes around that property. And if you use your imagination a little bit, you can envision that connecting all the way down to, at some point, to the Cowboy Trail and west to the Fountain Point development out there at some point. So that's really something that I personally kind of hang my hat on, is something that we accomplished. Another thing is I saw in the agenda packet all the agreements with the landowners along North Victory Road, where there's a sidewalk going in along there. It's a major accomplishment, getting those in there, because historically, that's not the way that the city was laid out, was for sidewalks and ease of access. And to go back and retrofit the city for that, that's a major thing, and that's a real huge step in the right direction. So you combine that with the access that's been done around Fountain Point, from what I understand, some planned connectivity from there down to the Cowboy Trail, straight down 37th Street. The trail that will go along the north side of East Benjamin to connect that to the college, largely. Those are some huge things. So this plan just isn't just something that you all paid for, or that we all paid for just to have. It really does represent a huge positive thing in the right direction, and something that truly is already going on. My wife, I'll make this quick, but my wife and I represent opposite ends of the spectrum. If we go out riding, traffic doesn't bother me. I just go and I stay out of the way, and I just ride. You know, I don't care where I go. She's on the complete opposite end, in that she doesn't like traffic, not at all. And it's getting closer that we can ride around the entire city and stay to where she feels comfortable. And that's 5 years ago, 3 years ago, that wasn't even close to being a reality. So it truly is now. So if you have any questions, otherwise I'll finish up.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions?
I've got one. I'm John or Steve. As moving forward with the subcommittee and move through, how was the proposed plan to pay for all this?
We have a line item in our capital improvement plan for trails. It's generic to trails every year. As those years advance, we start to identify where those dollars are going to get spent. Right now, we're spending them on East Benjamin, from Victory Road out to Highway 35, the 275 undercrossing, connecting on Victory Road from Sheridan up to Benjamin Avenue. Those are kind of the three big ones. John mentioned the connection over on 37th Street down to the Cowboy Trail. Again, working with the county in a joint agreement with the county did grade the trail from kind of where Fountain Point ends. They graded the trail down to Omaha, and then we also moved the fence as you go south of Omaha down to the Cowboy Trail. Here last summer, we moved that fence about 50 feet to the west to accommodate the grading for the trail to continue south of Omaha there. Some of the I think the things that are on the top of our priority list are what I call our top 10 connections. So we've got these areas around the community where we've got a block or two or three where the trail ends, and we need to connect it to something. And I think by doing that, we get that interconnectivity that a lot of people are looking for, so they can get out and loop around various areas of the community. So I think those top 10 connections are real important for the trail users. Then I think looking at what I call the southeast loop, as we extend underneath Highway 275, getting that extended back over to First Street and then down into the Cowboy Trail.
So just to build on what Steve's saying, is some of these places, and Steve and I have had conversations about this, there's spots to where it doesn't have to be a 10-foot wide concrete trail. That's expensive. Concrete is expensive. It can be a blacktop, or simply a gravel path, a limestone path like the Cowboy Trail itself. It doesn't have to be real expensive. A lot of these things don't involve actually any outlay of cash except for some paint to stripe off a lane. That was done as kind of an experiment on 3rd Street between Elm and Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
And so those things are easy to accomplish, and they really do make a big difference.
Guess kind of where I'm going with this, my question is, we're at the tip of, I mean, this is the start of, we've got priority pedestrian network, and like it states in the area, most of these streets have existing sidewalks or one or both sides. And then you have red areas that there'll have to be a sidewalk put in to connect. Now, those sidewalks, I would assume, would be then put on and assessed to the homeowner in that area, correct?
Yeah, the 5 foot portion of that would be assessed, yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, because we have had discussion, and I've had discussion, and I will say this: Steve is extremely open-minded on how this all works out. So we've had some good discussion before about it. I'm just a little bit leery of passing a plan without really having a solid way of paying for it. I mean, except for asking our citizens to be assessed on the ones that we're calling, in the neighborhoods. I understand the trail system. I understand that we've got our priorities set as well with council priority dollars and Keno funds. We've been able to set some money aside, or we set it out the next 6 years to fund some of this for our trails. I get that. I'm not talking about any. I mean, I think that's all fine. I'm talking when we start connecting, and then what's that lead to? Because the next step is going to be us calling in sidewalks. And I don't know if we're ready for that yet, but this is just the way it starts. I'm not saying don't get me wrong, this is a great plan. I don't have any problem with this plan. I just know we've had enough discussion on how that's going to move forward, or how that's going to look for our community when that happens. And so all I'm saying is do we pump the brakes a little bit, and it's going to be an issue for people.
Let me give you a true life scenario. 25th to 27th Street on Prospect. Narrow street, a lot of traffic, huge amount of hospital traffic. Lots of little kids live there. Several years ago, a sidewalk plan was floated up there, and it met with some strict resistance. There was some discussions made, some concessions made on both sides, those people that were the most vehemently against that can't imagine how they lived without that in the past. They were mad. There was people that I know personally that said, "I'm moving. You put a sidewalk in front of my house, I'm moving." They use it every day. Yeah. Every day they're out there using that sidewalk. And I'm just gonna say this, is it went way too long. Whoever was in charge of that allowed this problem to be created. And I know it's not a popular one to try to fix now. And maybe I'm speaking completely out of turn, Steve. I'm sorry if I am, but as a citizen, a 30-plus year citizen of the city of Norfolk, it's been very unfortunate that those sidewalks were ignored. And it is a great thing, even though you are gonna get some objections. I agree with you, but it'll be worth it.
And I agree with you. That's nice that those sidewalks are on 25th. 25th is kind of, or not, West Prospect is kind of crazy during the day when people are flying down that road at 30 miles an hour. My only that's holding me back a little bit is usually when we vote on something, there's going to be possible assessment to your lot. And you did, for Steve's credit, he said this is just a playbook, man. We might be doing something different, but we send out a letter saying there's a possible assessment to your lot, or there is going to be an assessment to your lot. But by passing this plan, some of these people don't even know that, hey, guess what, Logan Street, we're coming in with sidewalks after we pass this tonight. And they didn't have an opportunity to maybe come in here and say what they want to say about the fact that their lot might be assessed. And that's, to me, where I feel like the cart might be ahead of the horse. Maybe I'm all wrong here. I don't know.
I think the plan gives us, the plan's the beginning of the conversation. Plan says, here's our master plan for our community. The next stage then will be on our trail system where we've got these top 10 connectors. We go back, we start to work on that. We identify that this is where we're going to plug some of our trail dollars as part of a project. And we bring that to council, and council, we'll have a funding, we're going to sit down and put together a funding scheme, and however that is, some street dollars, some assessments, some council priority, whatever those dollars are, we're going to bring that to you for conversation and take direction from council on exactly how to move those projects forward. But I'm presenting you the plan. I'll come with recommendations on how we advance the plan and how we fund the plan.
So,
So Steve,
go ahead. Go ahead.
So Steve, this plan, is this more of I guess a guide, could we say, like the comprehensive plan is, or?
I would say this is very
I
similar to
mean,
the comprehensive.
If we're going
plan.
to assess, and I agree with Councilman Clausen on that, we don't want to, but we'd have to create a district or something to do that, correct?
Correct.
And then that's where we would get folks where we can have conversations. I mean, that's what I don't want to say. I just don't want us to be nonchalant and say, we'll just assess that. We really need to be looking at a lot of these things we've accepted tonight.
Right. When we put projects together, I think Councilman Clausen had come in and visit, but when we put projects together, projects that seem to have a high need, Victory Road, for example, there was that first piece of the Victory Road trail system, there were portions that were assessed, and as council, you decided you wanted to share that assessment at 50%. And so we basically did the calculation and cut those assessments roughly in half, so what I recall. The next project to the north from Sheridan North, we've gone out and received grant funding. And so we don't have a need to do that assessment between the grant funding and other funding partners that have kind of come to the table. We're able to do that without having to assess. So it just depends on what the opportunities are for funding that come up and how important it is that we get a specific project done. But we're not laying out in this plan there's no time frame behind this in terms of when this stuff needs to get done. In large part, it's about our development. We got a lot of development going on, a lot of redevelopment going on, and so as those things come in for us, without having something solid for us to manage against and say to a developer, well, you're developing, we've got a 10-foot, 8-foot trail that goes through here, and that needs to be incorporated into the design. We'll need an easement for that, whatever that conversation is. Having the plan allows us to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Steve,
Go ahead.
this appears to me a bit like, years ago we had, I think when I first got on council, we had trail master plan came into effect.
Yep.
And it's vision, not necessarily set in stone on how we would like to do things. And the amenities that folks ask for in the community now are maybe a little different than they were, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, however far you want to go back. So I think having the plan laid out is a wise thing to do. And then certainly if we're talking about assessments to people's property, then that conversation needs to be had too with public input and all of that. But just having a plan ready, I think, is probably a wise idea.
Which I think it's just smart. I mean, it's prudent planning procedure to do that. I think if you see development happen without these kinds of things integrated, you come to have the unintended consequences that we saw along Prospect between 27th and 25th. And that's a great example. That's my ward that I represented on the council, and that was a big project. There was a lot of questions and hand-wringing, as was alluded to up front, but I don't think anyone would argue now that project didn't greatly increase and enhance people's home values, even in that property, just by the fact that it was made so much safer, and that street looks better, it feels better, and it operates much more, much better functionally with that in place. And there's instances of this throughout the community. So I view this as a playbook. You don't necessarily call all the plays in the playbook, but it gives you a guide and it gives you options and it identifies priorities. So I commend the work that the city staff did in conjunction with the Trails Committee. It's a lot of effort and a lot of public input went into this plan through the surveys and through shareholder perspective. And I think it's wise for us to use it as a working document going forward to help us guide development of our trails, which it really focuses on, and sidewalk connections going forward. So I think it's a good step in laying the foundation for what I think a lot of citizens, I would dare to say most citizens, want to see a more walkable, more pedestrian-friendly community, more friendly to bicyclists, and us encouraging people to get outdoors and move around freely and easily throughout the community. So, any other comments, questions?
I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's a good plan. I have a lot of confidence that our staff and the community leaders and people that are on these boards and whatnot will do a nice job implementing this and moving this forward. I just have to be a little bit of a stickler on the fact that I don't know how we're ultimately going to do the funding for it. And that's where it's hard for me to do and have a conversation with somebody after the fact when they ask me. Otherwise, I think this is great. Our city's been calling for this, been asking for this since, like Rob said, since 10 years ago or better. And so so people have put a lot of time in, and I don't disagree with that. I just want to put it out there that we need to have the discussion. We've been asking for the discussion, and so.
Well, I'm glad you did put it out there, Shane, because that discussion does need to be had, and public input is important. Oftentimes, we don't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So in having this conversation here this evening, perhaps that will just alert people to get involved when the time is right. As far as property values go, I've got to say that probably is true. I got a letter from the county assessor the other day, and I don't live anywhere close to that. And my property seems to be affected by it, so good comment, Mayor.
On that note, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Granquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Nate?
File.
Yes.
Voting in the affirmative, Granquist, Langy, Merrill, Weeblehouse, Murin, Jackson, File. Voting in opposition, Clausen. Motion carries.
Okay, it takes us to item 30. I would look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5668, creating paving district number 518, which provides for street improvements in Walters East Knolls 13th edition.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance 5668.
Second.
Okay, motion second. And Steve Ramus, could you give us some background on this, please?
Mayor and council, what you have before you here, I'll generically talk about items 30, 31, 32, and 33. They are all related to the Walters East Knolls 13th edition. Item 30 here that is brought up for discussion is the creation of the paving districts for the 13th edition. Again, there are 8 lots here that'll be developed. We are extending Westbrook Drive up to Star Avenue and 1 lot extensions east and west on Lennon Avenue as well. But estimated cost of the improvements is about $126,000. The intent here is to have, once these are approved, would be the developer wants to start construction right away, so we'd get plans on the street. I believe we would first advertising this week. And their intent is to have it constructed and ready for builders before fall.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Further infrastructure development to accommodate new housing. Any questions or comments on this council? Hearing none, short title, please.
An ordinance creating paving district number 518 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, ordering the construction of street improvements therein, and ordering the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All councilmen voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5668 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I'd move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5668 on second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to suspend the rules and approve on second and third readings. If no further discussion, roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yay.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5668 carries on second and third.
Item 31 would entertain a motion to consider ordinance number 5669, creating sanitary sewer extension district number 253, which provides for the extension of sanitary sewer in Walters East Knolls 13th edition.
Your Honor, I'd offer for consideration ordinance number 5669.
Second.
Motion second, and Steve, background on this, please.
Again, Mayor and Council, this is the sanitary sewer portion for Walters East Knolls. This will be set up as a sewer extension district, right at 760 feet of sewer extension. You'll notice on the plan that the sewer does not extend east on Lennon Avenue. We have a 12-inch sewer interceptor that runs north to south just to the east there, and so any properties east would be connected to that. So this is putting sewer in Westbrook Avenue, Star Avenue, and west on Lennon from Westbrook. Approximate cost of the project is $55,000.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Any questions or discussion? If not, short title, please.
An ordinance creating sanitary sewer extension district number 253 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, establishing the outer boundaries of the district, designating the size, location, and terminal points, referring to the plans, specifications, and engineer's estimate in connection therewith, and to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, roll call.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5669 carries on first reading.
I'll make a motion for, to suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5669 on second and third.
Second?
Okay, motion and second to suspend the rules and approve on second and third readings. If no discussion, please vote. Or roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Aye.
Weeblehouse,
Yeah.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5669 carries on second and third.
Item 32 would entertain a motion to consider ordinance number 5670, creating water extension district number 125, which provides for the extension of water in Walters East Knolls 13th edition.
I'll make a motion for consideration of ordinance number 5670.
Second that, Your Honor.
Motion second, and Steve, any further background on this, please?
This will be adding about 850 feet of ductile iron water main to our city water system. Again, this is for purposes of the Walters East Knolls 13th edition. The water will be extending east on Lennon Avenue to connect into future development to the east.
Okay. Any questions or discussion, council? Hearing none, short title, please.
An ordinance creating water extension district number 125 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, establishing the outer boundaries of the district, designating the size, location, and terminal points, referring to the plans, specification, and engineer's estimate in connection therewith, and to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for the publication of this ordinance.
Okay, roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yay.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yeah.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5670 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I'd move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5670 on second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to suspend the rules and approve on second and third readings. If no discussion, roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yes.
Merrill,
Aye.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5670 carries on second and third.
Item 33, would look for a motion to consider approval of the plans, specifications, and engineer's estimate on file in the city offices for paving district number 518, sanitary sewer extension district number 253, and water extension district number 125, all in Walters East Knolls 13th edition. The project's an authorization for the city clerk to advertise for bids.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second. Steve, anything to add there?
I don't have anything to add. If there's any questions, I can answer those.
All right, any discussion, questions, council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Grandquist,
Yay.
Langy,
Yay.
Merrill,
Yes.
Weeblehouse,
Yay.
Murin, Jackson, Clausen,
Yay.
File.
Yes.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, lastly, item number 34 is our public comment period. Opportunity that comes along once every quarter for anyone, the public, wishing to come forward to talk about anything, almost anything. You can do so now. This is your chance. Questions, comments, accommodations. This is always very popular. We should look through the records and see the last time someone came forward for public comment.
I like trails and trees.
Yeah. Your record would show otherwise.
A couple quarters ago on some water bills or something.
Okay. Hearing nothing more, that concludes this meeting of the Norfolk City Council. We are adjourned.